and on Instagram. Awesome. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Lady. Hello. So excited you guys are here. Okay, so I know I didn't put a title up today, and oops, that's my bad. We're live on Instagram and on YouTube, so feel free to catch up with this later if you miss it. Hey, Tina. It's good to see you. What I want to talk about today is depression, mood disruption, and its impact on relationships. I know it's super confusing for a lot of people who are kind of just coming in and getting to know me and my practice and are really wondering why a relationship and sex therapist focuses so heavily on mood, right? On like nutrition and mindset, on all of these nervous system regulation techniques. And really the reason is that everything that negatively impacts us as individuals, we bring into our relationships, right? Our systems can only be as healthy as its individual counterparts. So I want to kind of break down some of the direct correlates or variables, things that impact our romantic dynamics from depression in particular, because I see these recurring themes over and over again. Hi, Matt. Welcome in. So if you have any questions or there's any specific things that you're wanting me to touch on this topic, definitely let me know, and I'm happy to kind of do a Q&A, whatever feels productive and helpful during our time here. Okay, so depression, when we are in this like really heavy, low headspace, this sometimes, often for a lot of people, pervasive heaviness, it really skews with our information processing, right? It has this blanketed negativity. It makes us process information in a way that is really dark, heavy, negative, which helps us. It really affects the way that we assume our partner's intentions, right? So there's a lot of communication issues when depression is present. The 80% of nonverbal communication is all kind of processing within this negative framework, which really affects how we interact with our partner and our experience within the relationship. It also affects our decision-making process, because being in this really, really like heavy, negative, dark space makes future orientation really difficult, right? If you think about being in like a fear state, right? When our nervous systems are really dysregulated and we're in this like survival response, our body and our brain is prioritizing survivalism. Hi, welcome, join us. We're prioritizing survivalism, right? So thinking about 5, 10, 15 years down the road is really not what's important in that moment. We're really focusing on the here and now and whatever is going to alleviate pain in the here and now, which a lot of times is not synonymous with what's going to help our future self. It's about like, what is going to increase the comfortability of us in the now. And sometimes that exacerbates pain points for our future self or our future relationship. And so depression presence, especially for like long-term pervasive dysthymia, we see a lot of like impulsivity, addictive behaviors, whether that be substance or process addictions, become problematic and really disrupt the homeostasis and the stability of the relationship long-term. I also see very, very commonly when couples come in for infidelity or betrayal repair, an underlying unmanaged mood disorder is very commonly the core catalyst for that infidelity, right? If somebody is managing like hypermania from a bipolar disorder that has gone unmedicated or unmanaged for a year or 2 or 3, and these like, pop-off moments of mood dysregulation are causing us to not think clearly and make really impulsive decisions, we take action that are not able to be like pulled back from, right? These are irreparable moments sometimes that destroy and shatter trust foundations and relationships. And to like breeze past mood of each partner is to ignore the foundational issue that caused it in the first place, right? Infidelity is oftentimes not the primary issue. It's a secondary symptom that is kind of the end result of a domino effect that started very much earlier on. And so we want to follow that domino line and figure out exactly what the initial catalyst was and repair that so we can prevent recurring issues in the future. Again, if you have any questions or something's not making sense, just kind of shout them out. I'm happy that you're all here with me. Okay, another effect of mood dysregulation, and again, this is like, so dysthymia, which is 2 or more years of low-grade chronic depression, any of the bipolar disorders, whether that's depression, normalcy, or depression mania. Anhedonia is present for a lot of people. If we're not familiar with that term, anhedonia is essentially like the lack of joy in what you used to experience joy in. It's like the lackluster or dullness of life experiences. So if you were somebody who used to love golfing and you have depression, you go out golfing maybe every Saturday with your friends, and it just feels like this gray blah experience, right? That is not specific to your relationship, right? Usually when anhedonia is present because of depression, it is pervasive and blanketed across all life domains. It's not just, I feel blah in my relationship, and maybe that means I'm no longer interested in my partner and I should leave them. Although our brain wants to connect that because our partner is the most constant variable in our life. The way that we kind of figure that out is by looking at that symptom and seeing when and where it presents in life, right? If this is a non-situational experience, meaning it happens in all environments with all people around, then it's more organic. There's something deeper going on within you, and it's not specific to your relationship. Our brain naturally prioritizes pain alleviation, right? It's just trying to protect us as much as it possibly can. And one of the ways in which that plays out in our romantic relationships is when we're experiencing pain or suffering of any kind, especially when we don't understand why we're experiencing pain or suffering, it looks around at like what is visible and concrete for us to recognize could be the cause, to figure out what we can change, right? What variables do we have access to in the here and now to end or prevent the suffering from moving forward? Unfortunately, we tend to have, hi, come on in. We tend to have our partners be the most constant variables out of anything or anyone else in our entire life, right? Our partner or our dog or our kids tend to be the constant variables. Our work, our friends, our extended family members, our house even, like all of these things are changing variables throughout our life. And so if day in and day out, moment to moment to moment, our brain is associating this chronic pain with this constant variable, the conditioning response is for us to subconsciously displace or project this pain or the cause of this pain onto our partner, right? And so without us even knowing, we start to become really frustrated, agitated, or saddened by our partner's presence because it's now conditioned to be a pain source, even if they're not the true cause of that. And that really requires some professional mediation because it's all happening subconsciously, right? It's hard to decondition those automatic responses, and we know that they're there just in an attempt to protect you. But depression can change a lot of feelings of attachment within relationships, a lot of like the foundational trust that you work years to build with your partner. Depression can shatter in just a few instances, unfortunately. And so, hey, Melissa, how are you? Good. All right. So, a couple of things that we want to keep in mind because depression or any kind of mood disorder really changes how we process information. Not all of us are able to have the clarity of like, am I in this mood state right now? Are the decisions or the feelings that I'm feeling actually real, or are they actually being skewed by this thing that I'm experiencing? What can I trust? And should I follow this desire to leave my relationship or this desire to work on my relationship? I think that's the scariest part for a lot of people, is the mistrust of self that sometimes this mood disruption creates. And so, here's just a couple of things that I encourage you to do to help regain that trust of self, so that you can make clear and sound decisions to enhance your quality of life, because that's what's most important. At the end of the day, we just want you to be happy and live in alignment with your integrity. That's what you deserve. All right, so figuring out what your red flags are, and they're going to be nuanced to you specifically. And I'll give you an example. So, red flags of like mood drop significantly, these are going to be things like, I mean, I don't commute anymore because I work from home and I'm in Hawaii. So, I have a lot of virtual clients. But back when we were in like the Baltimore, DC area, I had a pretty significant commute. And I'm a singer when I drive in the car. So I knew that if I did not sing when I was in the car for like a straight week, my mood was really, really heavy. Something was significantly wrong. And I needed to sit down and evaluate, am I not feeling well? Am I having difficulty processing? Is there something that I need to talk about with my partner or my family member? So that was like a really unique and specific red flag for me. I'm sure that all of you have something in mind where you're like, yes, this is me. This is what I do all the time, but I don't do it when I'm feeling really low. So those are the red flags that I want you to kind of note in your mind and go through that checklist if you're unsure if you're in kind of a heavy mood state. So red flags, figure out what those are. And then once you have those red flags, you're wanting to kind of assess your life domains, right? Apply them to all of the different areas of life to evaluate if they're situational or organic, right? Am I withdrawing or isolating in all of my life domains? In work, in my social life with friends, in my extended family members, in my romantic relationship, in my I don't know, painting like hobbies, in all of these different areas, right? Whatever domains you have, are you experiencing the same problem, the same like new difference in behavior in all of them, or is it just one particular environment, right? So that's a cue for you to evaluate, is there something deeper and organic happening in your body or more situationally caused? And then I would encourage you to pick a magic number. So this heavily depends on like your history with mood shifting. Some people process, hi, come on in, welcome. We have a lot of people today, which is awesome. I'm really happy you're here. So magic numbers are kind of amazing, but they're a little bit abstract because everybody processes different times with different speeds, right? So what I recommend, if you're talking about like time and consistency of a feeling or thought, right? This would be, if I have not, so for my example earlier, commuting and not singing, if I have not sung in my car, like blasted music that I love and was singing to that music for 2 straight weeks, that is hugely problematic. That's extremely, extremely abnormal for my typical behavior and mood state, right? So the 2 straight weeks is comparable to my organic baseline, which is every single day, right? So you would be figuring out what your red flags are, right? And then working backwards from those normal baselines to pick a magic number of what identifies like this is a problem. So figure out what that is. And if you're having troubles with that, just DM me and I'm happy to help you pick that magic number that seems more reasonable and appropriate. Yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit simplified, just breaking it down in those bullet points. if ever you're feeling like something's off and you're not sure what, I would just do a stream of consciousness in like a journal or just pieces of paper. Take a breath, step back, come back, see if there's any like juicy golden nuggets that are in there to help cue you to evaluate if there's a particular area that you're wanting to focus on or to bring to your support network and try and tease out a little bit deeper. But everybody's processing needs and speeds are different. So if your body tends to have a fluctuating mood state every 2 to 3 days, or hormonally, you tend to fluctuate normally every week and a half, then maybe your magic number is going to be 3 weeks. Does that make sense? So it really just depends on your body baseline. But figure that out, come up with like that the red flags, the life domains, the magic number, and then pick 1 to 3 resources that you can trust to be an unbiased or as unbiased as possible, to be like, hey, here's what I'm feeling. How do you feel like I'm presenting? Do you feel like something else is wrong? And ideally, this is not your partner because they're definitely going to be biased. Just help surround yourself with scaffolding of support, because everybody needs and deserves that. And recognize that whatever is going on with us as individuals, we bring that, the goodness, the bad, the neutral, we bring all of that into our romantic relationships. As good as we can be with having healthy emotional boundaries, it's impossible to maintain like extreme compartmentalization. We just, we're human. We bring all of that stuff into our dynamics. And so prioritizing self-care and self-awareness is absolutely critical to having healthy interpersonal relationships. That was what I wanted to talk about today, just to help people kind of bridge the gap as to why I focus on nutraceuticals and mood stabilization and thought reframing, all of these things that are very like mood heavy, anxiety and depression management from a holistic perspective. But I'm also a relationship specialist. To me, they are one and the same. They directly correlate with one another. And so that's kind of like my holistic approach. I hope that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions, any topics that you're wanting me to talk about today? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Ooh, we have a lot of people. That's exciting. Cool. And I think a lot of you are on the East Coast too, which is late. Awesome. Cool. Well, I do have a couple of ideas for upcoming lives that I'd like to go through. But I'd also love for them to be a little more interactive than me lecturing, because I am sure that that would be more fun for you. So if you have specific topics or questions that you're wanting me to dive into, I am absolutely happy to personalize that and really like tease out these specific areas that would most benefit you. So just send me a DM or an email, whatever is convenient for you, privately if you'd like. And I'm happy to jump into that topic at the next live. Ooh, Lainey. Can you talk about mood reframes for when resentment bubbles up? Sure. So when resentment is bubbling up, this is kind of a two-part question. Oh, thanks. This is kind of a two-part question because it depends if you've actively tried to repair resentment and you've already been through the protocol and you've committed to yourself to release and let go when things are good, but then you got it. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the question was, when things are already good and you've committed to letting go and releasing the resentment, but for whatever reason, our mind, our intrusive thoughts are not on board in that moment, and things, the kind of negativity or intrusive thoughts bubble up and get us into a negative space again. What we want to do is ground in the shared goal or intention, right? The bigger picture is going to allow us to pop out of that hyper-focused singular moment, which is usually very small and finite. The fixation on this specific area, which could be, it's usually like the actual resentment source, right? So I'll call out unfairness or inequality because that's really, really common. That's like a common source of betrayal that I hear in my office. So if that's the fixation, and usually it's a behavior that's representing unfairness or inequality, then what we want to do is kind of check ourselves to see if our fixation on this topic is allowing us to meet our bigger goal of having a like free life filled with deepened meaning and purposeful relationships. That was a little like ambiguous. Ideally, there's a very specific goal that you have for your future self in the next 10 years. And it's going to be more expansive than just this tiny little thing, right? And if your answer is no, focusing on and like perseverating in this dark area does not get me to this future self that I deserve to be at. What does get me there? And I'm able to then pop out of this like intensity bubble. If you're a really concrete person, then doing a little Venn diagram, I always like date myself when I talk about that, but doing a Venn diagram, which is like two circles overlapping, and one circle is controllable variables, another circle is uncontrollable variables. And you just kind of take the topic and filter it through, identifying and finding acceptance, taking a breath and like breathing out, hyper focus on the variables that you can't control, quite literally looking over and resettling into or breathing into the variables that you do control is going to combat the hopelessness that's feeding your anxiety in that moment and will help you feel like motivated and energy with momentum to be productive and to do something that's congruent with your end goal, which is purposeful, right? It feels good. It feels positive and uplifting. So it's a literal and concrete redirection of how you gift your attention and energy. I hope I answered your question. Did that make sense? I hope so. That was a really good question. Because I know it's easy. We can't prevent the intrusive thoughts from popping in, but we do have choice and control over what we do with them, right? And there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of like empowerment in knowing that you have choice, control, agency, freedom in what you allow to stay. We may not be able to prevent every negative thing from coming back, but we can bounce it back out and choose who and what and where we redirect our energy to, because your energy is so precious, right? All of these resources, time, energy, attention, all of these are finite things that you like when you're tapped out of them at the end of the day, you're tapped out, you have nothing left to give. And so we do want to give them away very mindfully, especially because we live in a very like attention based economy. And there are things and people and places that are grabbing and vying for your resources 24/7. And so if we're not mindfully giving, we're just going to be depleted 24/7. And then our relationships are depleted 24/7. So I think that was a really beautiful question. I appreciate you, Lainey. Awesome. All right, well, send me DMs if you have specific topics that you're wanting me to cover in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to try and do at least one every week and kind of get a flow going. And I hope that it's beneficial for you guys. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Also, sorry, I forgot to mention this. If you're wanting a breakdown of like how to build up from self-care, self-awareness, self-health, and help up to relational health and then systemic health, which is kind of like the foundation building process for a long-term satisfactory relationship that is healthy, just type in guide to this live right now, or to the submitted post or reel in a few minutes when we end. You can type in guide and we'll send you all the information and you can breeze through it. We'll send you a masterclass and hopefully it's helpful. Let me know if you need anything. I'm always here for you, and talk to you soon.